Hi, I'm Rob from MicksGarage.com. Today we're going to take a look at airflow meters. This is one here. It's an electronic device which fits into the inlet system on your car. It sends an electronic signal to the ECU, which is the brain of the car, and tells it and calculates how much fuel that the engine needs so that the correct air-fuel ratio is always maintained. When an airflow meter fails or goes out of spec, all kinds of drastic things can happen with your engine. You'll get poor performance, terrible fuel economy, the engine might not rev over 2,000 or 3,000 RPM, it may not even start, you might get rough idling, just generally terrible performance. So if you've got any of these poor performance issues, then the airflow meter could be the culprit. And I say could because it's not always that simple to pinpoint the airflow meter as being the item that's at fault. There's a number of different types of airflow meter, but the hot wire type, which is what we've got here, is the most common. There's an electrical element inside the airflow meter, a bit like a light bulb, which heats up and cools down every time you drive the car. And this repeated heating and cooling cycle gradually degrades and the performance of the airflow meter reduces over time. Also, when the wire gets hot, any dirt particles that have got past the air filter can cling to the element, and what happens is the electrical signal that the airflow meter sends to the ECU either reduces in its strength or just it sends the wrong signal to the ECU, which then in turn tells it the wrong amount of fuel that the engine needs, and that's what gives you all these poor performance issues. Because airflow meters don't always supply fault codes if there's something wrong with them, and because they're quite easily changed and easy to get at within the engine bay, it's often the first part that people suggest to change if you've got any of these poor running conditions. If you change your airflow meter and you find that there's no improvement, you still have the same problems, chances are that there's a problem with some other electrical component within the engine. It's extremely rare that a replacement airflow meter will have a fault with it as well. The big problem with that is that the airflow meter is still working, it's still sending a signal to the ECU, so it's not necessarily going to record a fault. So if you send your car into the garage and they plug it into the onboard diagnostics, you may not get a fault reading, but the airflow meter still could be faulty. Changing an airflow meter is a very simple job, and you just need some pretty basic hand tools. So if you want to have a go yourself, click on our video here to see how it's done.